Hello, thriving friends. Hello, welcome to another wonderful week of thriving lessons with Dr. G. Wherever you are joining us from, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes. All right, let's go ahead and invite other thriving friends to come and join us, okay? Let's not just enjoy this by ourselves. So I am going to check on. Hey, which one is this? Forgive me. I was going to check on the other platforms. It seems I had things open. I beg, forgive. Let's make sure that we are live on all the platforms. As soon as you join us, please, please, please make sure you say hello and let us know that you can hear us, you can see us. I'm not on mute because for some time now, I'll keep talking 2 minutes, then like we can't hear anything. I don't want that happening. All right, so I can see that I'm live on LinkedIn. I'm live on, am I? On Facebook. Yes, I can see on Thrive with Doc G. Things are going well. So wherever you are, when you join us, just say hello. We are going to continue with our conversation when it comes to estate planning. And last week we started talking about wills, trust, life insurance. We are now going to go into details and see how best we can apply these concepts in our lives. Okay. So I'm taking a moment to share my links. I hope you are doing so as well, and we will get together in 30 seconds. So let the countdown begin. 29, 28, 27. Oh, is that how we count? I don't know. But anyway, thank you all so much for joining. We are streaming live on multiple platforms. So wherever you are seeing us from, we are the Thriving Generation. We meet here every week. We discuss different topics that will help us thrive in this generation, right? We want to do well. We want to grow stronger and stronger and stronger. We want to thrive. We are tired of surviving. Well, I am tired of surviving. I have some thriving friends who are also tired of surviving. So we decided that we are going to thrive. And please thrive with us, okay? Yes, Isaac is here. Isaac said you are loud and clear on LinkedIn. Beautiful. I guess we can get started and our friends will join us as they are able to. All right, so we have our guest. Where is my thing? We have a wonderful, wonderful guest with us. We had I was going to say Pastor John, and I'm not afraid to say Pastor John because that's what I call him most of the time. John Essegbey is with us today, and he's going to continue with the conversation on wills, trust, and life insurance. Also, thank you so much
Mm,
for joining.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. And for the sake of those who are joining us for the first time, could you please introduce yourself to the thriving generation and then we'll proceed?
My name is John Essegbey. I always find it interesting introducing myself, but some people know me in various capacities. So I would say I have had the privilege of being in many conversations within the financial world, and that's why I'm here today. President of Courage Group, strategy manager with a Fortune 500 company, a minister of the gospel, and an electrical engineer. So I think that's a brief description of who I am.
You do it all. And the fine, fine daddy. You have to add that one.
You need to score points for that one.
Have to score points for that one. Let's continue with our conversation on life insurance, on wills and trusts. You did a wonderful job last week, but let's just, for the sake of our brothers who are late, we are just going to share with them what we talked about. I'm trying to show the thing on wealth creation, just a brief overview, what we said when it comes to wealth creation. Then we proceed from that.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't know if what you're sharing is play. I see a
Oh,
lot. pretty things though. I see gold and silver and coins. And
Yeah. So you are going to share with us what wealth creation is.
oh, you wanted me to share on that?
Yes,
Okay.
boss.
I thought you were going to play a recap of what I had said
No, please. It's
last week.
on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on Thrive with Doc G. We'll play that. The detail is too long to play anything, so just a
Okay.
sentence or two.
All right. What I believe I had said was we need to start thinking of wealth creation as an entire system. And when you think of wealth, let me add this: think generationally.
Okay.
Wealth is not created in a day. Wealth cannot be created by going to sit in a class. I know of late you hear lots of people say, "Hey, join me for my wealth master class."
Yeah.
Wealth is a journey. Okay. Yes, there is a place where you would say, "I am wealthy." There is a place you get to where it's a wealthy place.
Mm,
But always remember, wealth is a journey. It's a
mm,
process. It takes time. The earlier you start, the better it is for you. Jump on that train and keep moving.
mm,
It requires the steady accumulation. It requires the smart distribution. It
mm,
also requires the understanding of legacy so that you are able to put something in place that travels over generations.
mm,
Okay. And then wealth also would, for it to last that long, you would need strategies that replenish and you need strategies that defend that which you have gathered. So when I think wealth creation, when I think wealth, I'm thinking of a strategy that allows you to um, create value over time, replenish as you deplete,
mm.
and then allow for a transfer that sets up the next generation to be even better than you and I today. So that's
That's
what I think of when I think of
wonderful.
wealth creation.
And I think that's a wonderful summary. And I love that it takes time, it's a process. So
Right.
you just don't want to be deceived that you can make it over time overnight. Maybe you could, but be very, very careful for anything that is promised overnight. So I think you have some awesome things to help us process this information, right? How we are going to create wealth in our families. So should we go ahead and share your wonderful thing?
Maybe if we can go to slide 3. Today, I wanted to have a few things that could help us. Okay, so I put together this little cartoon because when we think of wealth creation, when we think of a strategy, I want you to always know that you have the power to do something.
Mm.
Okay, you're not helpless. You're not in a position where, okay, this is what I came to meet. We'll just stroll along and then what can come can come. Unless your name is can come, even that you can change it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All those called can come. I love you. I want you to know.
If you're not from Ghana, you may not get this, but it's really a real name, a last name. Yeah.
Right, right. Secure the future. Secure the future. Always think whatever I have today in the present is what I have.
Yeah.
But what I can have tomorrow, there are so many possibilities. What
Yeah.
I can have tomorrow will be dependent on the strategy with which I shape tomorrow.
Mm,
Okay. It's easy for people to say, I wish upon a star, one day it go better. And especially when you become religious, you're saying, Lord, I need a miracle. And you are praying for miracles, and all those are good. I am a preacher, so I can pray for miracles as well. I understand that. But what
yeah.
I'm saying is, if you want to have security in the future, you need to participate by shaping it today.
Yeah.
Okay. The future belongs to those who are willing to take the efforts to shape it. It
Mm,
starts with having a vision of what you want that future to be like.
mm,
Uh, you may need a little bit of hope. You may need to wish a little, but you need a definite roadmap. You need definite tactics.
mm.
And then when miracles do happen, we will praise God. We will
Yeah.
pray for the miracles. Okay. But if you want to shape the future, you need a controlled system. You need to have an understanding of what will happen. How
Mhm.
should things happen?
Okay.
Who should be responsible? Who should be involved? And all of that would help. And so this conversation on wills and trust is just central to shaping what the future should look like. It doesn't mean you have to be dead whilst you're still alive. Tomorrow is still a future. So what do you
Mm,
want to happen tomorrow? That is what I wanted to start with in this conversation. And then if you would look at slide number 5, I want to make sure that everybody understands that
Mm.
the responsibility lies with you. You have the responsibility to lead that change. What we have met does not have to be what we leave behind.
Mm-hmm.
How we have come is how we came, but how we live depends on us. Often there will be barriers, but whenever you decide to take responsibility that day, you have the capacity to transform those barriers into stepping stones. If you look at this quadrant that I have shown here, the red highlight usually reflects where lots of people find themselves. You have the ability to do something and change the outlook of your house, your family, the
Yeah.
outlook of your career, the outlook of your ministry, the outlook of whatever it is that God has entrusted into your hands. You have the ability, but often what we lack is the willingness to do something about it. Okay, the desire to do something about it. And on the ability scale, I should acknowledge that not everybody would be in the position where they have the full ability, because some strategies may not be affordable. But let's start asking the critical question: how can I afford it? And
Mm.
not just close the door and say I can't afford it, because there may be a few things you can shift around that can
Yeah.
enable you to afford to create the future you desire to see. Let me use an example. It's easy for everybody to buy what do they call it, frappe, cappuccino. I love Starbucks, not because I like coffee, but there are so many things we invest in on a daily basis that
Mm-hmm.
can be redirected to creating the prosperity or the wealth that we want to really enjoy in our lifetime and also hand over as legacy. So start asking the question: how
Mm-hmm.
can I afford the strategies that enable me to get on the wealth creation journey? I saw an example recently where, on average, people are paying up to almost $1,000 as car payment just so you can feel like I am riding in a nice wagon.
Yeah.
But if you can drive a beautiful car and pay $1,000 today, and
Yeah.
after 5 years, the value of the car is half.
Yeah.
Whereas you might be able to drive a decent car for a $500 note and invest the remaining 500 towards creating and shaping tomorrow. Then
Yeah.
you will drive into tomorrow and there will be a pile of gold waiting for you.
Yeah.
As opposed to eating all of the gold today. Okay, so think, and that requires a shift in what you know, a shift in your knowledge. There are things you don't know today. You need to start asking the question: what don't I know? How do I learn more? And then there would always be the risk factor. That is almost always a basic denominator. Some people may have a little more risk aversion, but always think of a better alternative rather than saying this is too risky. Okay,
Wow.
rather
That's
than saying this is
wonderful.
too risky, think of what is a better alternative.
Alternative. Let me take a moment and say hello to our thriving friends. Hi, Elijah. Thank you so much for joining. And I see that people are joining on all the other platforms. Thank you for joining. We are still talking about wealth creation. We are talking about estate planning. Most of us are beginners. So we are learning about wills, trust, and life insurance. So thank you for joining wherever you are. Share this video with your friends. Like the video if you love the content. And let's keep the conversation going. So, Osafo John, please continue for us.
Right. I was saying start that wealth journey today.
Yes.
Start it. Understand accumulation, understand disbursement, understand the legacy of wealth. But
Mm-hmm.
whatever it takes, start the journey today.
Okay.
Understand that you need to have a wealth defense mechanism in place.
Okay.
Okay, the fact that you're working hard and you keep your head down and you're doing all the hours does not mean you are defended. So
Okay.
have defense mechanism in place. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is something that I can always stand by. Remember, there are many possibilities of the future, but
Mm.
posterity would reward the generational thinker.
Okay.
All right. So always start thinking of all the things I am doing today, which of them is securing the future for me? And
Mm.
once you start thinking in that direction, you are well on your way to securing your future. Okay. So maybe let's see. I can pause and take some questions just because last week there were some things that people wanted to go over.
Yeah.
And
I wish I had saved some of the questions to continue from today, but thriving friends, wherever you are, you can start posting your questions and I don't have my phone with me today, so please don't text. I won't see it. I don't know why I don't have it, but I don't have it. So kindly use any of the platforms that are live, YouTube, Facebook, and I will see those and share with
Okay.
John. So, if somebody may be wondering, so where do I start from? Yes, you said that I have to start today. What are some of the little steps? You did talk about Starbucks, and that I'll talk to you after this live stream, since you are saying my thing. But what are some of the other strategies that we can adapt? And it's true, if you think about it, if you eat out a lot, and let's say average of $5 a day, 5 cities a day, 5 naira a day, and then
Right.
you put that together at the end of the month, you are really spending, compared to if you took a sandwich from home with you, and maybe instead of 5 days a week eating from out, eating 3 days out or 2 days out and saving the other days. What are some of the ideas you have for us?
I think it comes to priorities.
Okay.
I don't think anybody should not take care of themselves,
Mm,
enjoy life. You're working hard, enjoy life. But it starts with priorities. Always be asking yourself the question of all the things that, of all the places my money is going to today, which of them is participating in building the tomorrow I desire? Once you can answer that question honestly, wherever you take the money to, I'm sure you will be doing a great job. Okay. Look at an example like how you build equity in general, how you build equity in general. That's a topic that I've come to spend a lot of time digging into. Typically, people are thinking of maybe let me make an extra payment here on my house, or let me make an extra payment there. Simple things you can shift around. Okay. In today's world, almost all of us, once you get to a certain stage, you get a house, you start to build equity in that house. But how do you take advantage of open-ended facilities
yeah.
rather than closed-ended facilities where all of what you're building is trapped? Okay, so start thinking in that direction. Practical things. If you can afford it, buy it. If you can't afford it, you don't need to buy it.
Mm,
Right.
mm,
Um, if you are building, understand you need control, you need access, you need liquidity. So anything you are building equity in, how do you gain access to it? Once you start to understand some of those basic things, you'll be in a good position. Okay.
mm,
Um, you can afford to drive a car that does not cost you $1,500 a month, and it
ish.
will still take you to and fro.
Yeah.
Right. You can afford to start a business,
Mm-hmm.
a legal entity that is intended to create profit. And that in itself becomes an opportunity for a lot of tax write offs, a lot of things that you are doing on a normal basis. Now you can do it within the scope of your business, and that affords you to save on some taxes, right?
Yeah.
These are simple things that you can shift.
Yeah. And
Have
yeah.
another source of income
Yeah.
that does not require your full day. And all of those little things would help you on that journey towards wealth creation.
Yeah. I'm thinking back in Ghana, I didn't have access to credit card, and I didn't know many people who had credit card. So you spend what you have. And when once the money is finished, the money is finished. You don't have money, you don't have money. You will be
Right,
working. You will
right,
not have money. But in other parts of the world, they've created the environment where you can borrow, even for the least important thing in your life. You can get money for it and put it on your credit card and pay later. And that is where the trick is. So what when you were talking, what I was thinking of was, if you can't pay off your credit card at the end of the month, then there is a problem. Would you agree with me? If that means you are spending more than you have.
Uh, that's a very good question. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. And like
Okay.
I said, if what you're spending on is participating towards building you a better tomorrow,
Okay.
then I can agree it's worth building equity in there. So for example, I may not have $500,000 to buy a house today,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to get the house with a mortgage.
Okay.
It's the same as using credit or using a facility that I have not yet built. So I own the house, but the bank owns the lien on the house. It's the same thing. So I may have a credit card, and let's say I have an opportunity to buy a piece of land. Um,
You can
that
buy one with credit card.
oh, there's so
Wow.
many. There's
Then
so
your
many.
credit line is so huge. I am thinking of $1,000, $2,000, Charlie. Okay, please
Okay,
proceed.
all right. Maybe another day we can talk about credit and how to build credit and what the importance of building credit is.
Okay.
But anyway, so let me use another example that's easy to assimilate. Whatever it is, right? There are some things. Maybe you started a new business in your basement. You
Yeah.
need to buy a photocopier machine.
Okay. Yeah. Good one.
I don't have the cash today, but I have a contract with maybe the local assembly where if I'm able to generate all these number of copies, I will be paid. And once I am paid, I will be able to now pay off the amount that I have borrowed from the credit card. At that point, it's worth it.
Okay.
Okay. There is such a thing as arbitrage. If the cost of the card is lower than the benefit I am getting from that engagement, then
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so just
Mm-hmm.
understand placement. All
Okay.
right, so if we're not going too much into questions, then let's go back to the wills and trusts because I wanted to leave room in case there were some questions we wanted to touch on. So when we go back to estate planning, then
Mm-hmm.
I had a pretty slide, but it looks like the slide keeps giving up on me.
As you look for your slide, there is a comment from Efia S. Efia S is my sister. Sewa, hi. Sewa says, avoid overspending. Great point. So, yeah, it's a great point.
Right.
Thank you so much for sharing. Do you have the slide? Not
I
yet.
can I can be talking through whilst we find this slide.
Sounds wonderful.
But when we go into estate planning, and I think the last time I said that estate planning is smart protection. When we
Okay.
go into estate planning, right, there are things we need to start thinking about. Number one is control. Number two
Okay.
is privacy, and
Okay.
number three is security.
Okay.
So I wish I was in a church. I would have said, "Repeat it after me."
Control, privacy, security.
All right.
I'm
It
paying
means that we're paying attention.
attention.
Those are the basic. Those are the basic things that you want to be thinking about when you're
Okay.
thinking of estate planning. Okay, um, there are some watch outs,
Okay.
and I want to make sure that everybody understands that you are positioning yourself in a place to avoid some of the basic mistakes. So,
Mm,
what are some of the watch outs when it comes to estate planning? You need to have effective dialogues.
okay.
Okay, you need to have effective dialogues. You may be thinking that when I am incapacitated, it's only normal that my children will take over,
Yeah.
right? But for all you know, your kids may have different plans. Maybe what they really want to do, your child maybe wants to go to California and pursue their art career. And you are also thinking that, oh, this is my eldest child. Um, in the event where I'm incapacitated, they will take care of their younger siblings. It may not quite be the case. So have those
Yeah.
open conversations, have those open dialogues with your spouse.
Mm,
This is what we want tomorrow to look like. Okay, are we all in agreement?
mm,
This is how we want the next generation to start. So, what are we able to do today to ensure that that is in place? So, have those effective dialogues. Okay, the second watch out is there are legal and tax implications for any estate plan that you put in place. If you do not have an estate plan, there are legal and tax implications. If you do have an estate plan, there are legal and tax implications. If you don't, it means that the state takes charge, and that's all right. But there's such a thing as a probate court, for example, where the state takes charge and says that, okay, since person so and so is incapacitated and cannot continue to execute, we will determine what goes where, who gets what, and it goes
mm,
through a lengthy process, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year. And so you would be in a place where the legal implications of having or not having a plan is determining how your future is going to be shaped out. Okay, so understand their implications. When you go into estate planning, get the help that you need. You need legal help, you need actual tax help to work through the implications of your plan. It's not as easy as, okay, I have a written will, give my house to my youngest daughter. Well, some things, even, and let me put this clear, even
mhm.
though you have a will, everything would still go through the probate court if you do not have the right structure to protect it. Okay.
Okay.
And I can say everything with a caveat. There are some things where there is already an established beneficiary. For example, if you have
Life
most of us
insurance.
working have a 401k, right?
Yeah.
If you have a 401k, you have the responsibility to go to whoever is handling your 401k, maybe in your job. You should have a portal. Make sure you have beneficiaries assigned in there,
Okay.
okay? So that all of that does not end up going to court and some other people fighting over who gets what. You understand what I'm saying? So be
Yeah.
clear to designate who the beneficiaries are in those kinds of assets that allow you to. But some assets does not allow you to. You can't go to the bank and say, "This is my house. Give it to my second." Well, I was going to say second wife, but I don't have a second
Please.
give it to my second son. You know what I'm saying? So the assets that can allow you to designate beneficiaries, go ahead and do it. Once those
Okay.
are designated, that would have the highest priority. Some
Okay.
assets does not allow designation, and I think you mentioned a good example, which is the rollout of life insurance, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That is able to stand on its own and it doesn't go through any adjudication. So
Yeah.
whoever you designate as a beneficiary gets it, regardless of what you owe and what you don't owe. The third
Okay.
thing is understand and maximize the funding strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are ways to fund your future. That does not have to require breaking your back. So maximize the funding strategy. That is where you would use instruments like life insurance, and with a little bit of premium every month, you are able to fund a future and fund tomorrow in such a way that the next generation is very well set up to thrive and to build on that wealth. Also understand that you need to minimize losses. So when you're thinking of my estate plan, how do I maximize the funding strategy? How do I minimize the losses? How do I avoid ambiguity? Avoid ambiguity. So you need, for example, you can have a trust that provides privacy and security, that makes sure that it is clear who gets what.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Even whilst you're still alive, take out ambiguity. Who has the power of attorney to make decisions for me if I am not in the country, for example, if I'm
Yeah.
outside of the jurisdiction, if I'm incapacitated? Okay. So avoid ambiguity,
Yeah.
ensure privacy and security,
Yeah.
minimize losses, maximize your funding strategy, understand the legal and tax implications, and
Mm-hmm.
have effective dialogues.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Please, we were paying attention, so you have to see some of the responses coming in. So Elijah said, develop defensive mechanisms. See, we are paying attention in class.
Right, right. I like
And
it.
Pia says, control privacy security.
That's right.
Yes. And then great point, control security, which is awesome. I love everything you've shared, and it makes me think of an example a friend, an older friend shared. So they lost their parents not long ago. They are very old, maybe the person I'm talking about will be in the 70s or heading towards the 70s. So you can think of how old the parent was. So maybe 80, late 80s, 90s in America. So there's a system. So I asked them, did the parents put something in place to say that you get this, you get that? And they said yes. And actually, because they were showing us something really cute, like an antique something, I was like, how did you get it and not your sibling? No, yes, they did fight over it, but their parents had clear rules that if you bought something for me, it comes back to you. And these will go to this. So even though the older siblings may have wanted it, there were some conflict here and there. It was clear. It was
Right.
clear. So they got it back. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. Sometimes we say that I leave my house to my children. And you
Exactly.
have three children.
And then
And then
someone
you
shows
don't
up
know
from the
how
shadows.
cordial they will be when you are not there, you know.
Someone even shows up from the shadows and say, "Me too, I am your child." And,
That happens. It's true
and
story.
now it becomes a whole wonderful situation. So having all of that, right? That's
Awesome.
that's that's
Please
a good
proceed.
example. That's a good example. I think my slides are coordinating now. Right.
Wonderful.
So yes, those are the things that I just walked through. Let's make sure that we understand some of those things. Having the assets is good, but understand that there are many opportunities for losses as you go down the line.
Okay.
So be intentional in managing that, okay, and understanding that you want to avoid losses, you want to minimize taxes, you want to avoid ambiguity,
Mm.
and then you want to ensure privacy and security. So when you are thinking, think of, do I have the right kind of help? Do I have the right systems that would enable and facilitate the dialogues and minimize all those implications, maximize my funding strategy, and all of that good stuff?
Mm. That's wonderful. If this is great for those of us in countries where we have systems to protect some of these things. But can you think of if you are in Africa, most parts of Africa, I don't know the policies there. But when we were younger, I remember my friend's dad lived in abroad for several years. He came to build two homes in Ghana, and then when he was coming back home to visit, he had an accident and he died. The house he was building, the man's family took one of the houses. In fact, they wanted to take both, but because they lived in one of them, they couldn't just come in and sack them. I don't know how and why the law couldn't protect the wife and the children. But what are some of the things you can do when there isn't like a government law to protect or take over? Will the will still work? Do you still write something down? How do you just go around some of these things?
So actually, in Ghana, there is the interstate protection law.
Okay.
Well, there are systems that work in Ghana for such a thing. It is
Okay.
only the issue of most beneficiaries are not aware of which right legal help to seek to make sure that there is
Oh,
protection. And so yes, basically, if a person died intestate, it means that they did not have an estate plan. Right?
okay.
There is currently within the legal framework of Ghana protections on how the estate of such a person should be distributed. But to
Okay.
avoid having to deal with all that, it's easier to have a will in place. It's
Okay.
easier to have a document in writing. And as long as there is a document in writing, there are two witnesses that are independent of the beneficiaries. Usually you have like a lawyer or someone sign it. You can always take that to court and it will be executed on your behalf. So
Mm.
those systems do exist. It's just a matter of, do we understand
Knowing.
how to
Yeah. Yeah, so you have to know. That means we all have to take time to understand the laws and the policies in our individual areas to
right?
protect ourselves and our families. That's great. Thank you
And if
for
you
that.
remember the first slide on responsibility, I indicated that knowledge is a critical thing.
Yeah.
It lifts you on that scale of ability.
Mm,
And you may not know, but the question should be asking, how can it? Rather than just closing and saying, I don't know.
mm. Is it
Uh,
this one?
no, I think, let's see. Yes, this one right here. On the ability scale, knowledge
Okay.
is the second thing that I highlighted. A lot of times we miss out because I don't know, whereas it could be
Mm,
what can be done.
what
I
can
can
be
give, I can give another example. A friend was incapacitated. His spouse was living outside of the jurisdiction of America. And
okay.
apparently, there is enough um, immigration cover for a scenario like that, where
Okay.
his spouse can be allowed to come on an express entry. And he does not know. He did not know. So unfortunately, that did not materialize. Right. And then I was speaking with
Oh,
another friend, and I was like, oh, I just did this for somebody like 2 months ago. That's
mm,
the easiest way to actually get access. And of course, I'm not I'm not an immigration person. So I'm not
yeah,
giving
I
immigration
understand.
advice. But there are different kinds of opportunities for express entry that if you don't know, you may think it doesn't exist. And so you may think, okay, this person has to stay outside of America for 5 years until they get an interview date or until so and so. But
Mm,
there are opportunities. So that knowledge gap is what we want to work on bridging. Want to
mm,
work
mm.
bridging that knowledge gap. And it starts with asking the right questions. And
Yeah.
even when you get an answer that you may not understand, maybe go with the next question, why? And then
Okay.
go with the next question, how can it be possible then? Go
Okay.
with the follow-up question. Okay, so how can I afford to do this? Go
Okay.
with that follow-up question. Okay, it feels a little too risky. Is there another alternative? Is there
Mhm,
a better alternative? And all of that will
mhm.
shift us so that we are able to lead the change and be that which we are looking to have. Okay. I don't know
Wonderful.
how much
So
more time you have,
we are
but
in the
yeah.
34th minute, so we should
Okay.
be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes. Please, if you have questions, this will be a great time to just post your question. If not, we are wrapping up for the day. Please go ahead also.
Um, so I think one question would be, where do I go from here? What are the next steps? What do I do? Right.
Mm,
You can reach out to any person in the capacity to provide estate planning. If you would love to reach out to me, I will be excited to help you out. I am my company is definitely connected with several providers across America that will be able to help you get all the legal advice that you need, get the tax advice that you need. Beyond estate planning for an individual, we also provide business planning. Okay, so tax strategies that enable you to make the most within the space where you find yourself. So you can always get in touch, and we will be able to help. Get the help that you need. I think that's the basic thing. Get the help that you need, and understand that there are many strategies that can help you position yourself in the right place that you need to be. If you can show slide 5 of my deck, slide 5 of my deck. Okay. Um, we probably would not have too much time to digest this, but I think it will be on Facebook, it will be on LinkedIn, on
yeah,
YouTube. So you can always take time and look at it and understand where you find yourself. Okay. When
yeah,
you're thinking smart protection, what are the things that I need in place? Everybody needs to have some kind of document that determines the management and distribution of your wealth, and also who is in the position to act in your stead when
yeah.
you are incapacitated. Okay, so that will be a basic need. Everybody would need that. So that will be a will or a trust. Okay. Even if you have a trust, you would still need a will that determines who gets what and where things go. But you
Okay.
also now have to understand, what kind of protection do I need? That determines the kind of trust that you would go for. What tax am I trying to maximize? I almost said avoid, but avoid is not the right thing to say.
Don't avoid taxes, please.
How
But
am I trying to maximize my tax strategy? Let me put it that
yeah,
way. Right? So you can
yeah.
have a simple trust, you can have a complex trust. Okay. How am I trying to maximize security and protection? So
Mm,
then that will now be looking at, okay, is it a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust? Do I have access to it whilst I am alive? Can I always change things and move things around? That will be a revocable trust. If I am not in a position to do that, or I deliberately opt not to do that, that will be an irrevocable trust. Am I using it for a business or just to make sure that my children are happy with each other? Okay.
okay.
So there are different types, but you will need the right kind of help to walk you through to settling on the best type that will be good for you. Always remember, there are opportunities for estate creation.
Okay.
There are opportunities to build up on your wealth. So where you start does not have to be where your next generation starts. There are always going to be clear, simple, interesting opportunities to build up on your estates. You
Mm,
need to protect your income. You need a plan. When you think of estate planning, it's not only after you are gone, whilst you're still alive. What kinds of systems do I have in place to protect my income? If you
yeah,
are incapacitated and unable to continue working because of a health condition, for example, are you protected for
yeah.
the next 6 months? If unfortunately a person is laid off, what do you have in place that replaces your income? Okay, asset protection, equity protection, diversity. All of these are parts of having that solid plan.
Okay.
Tax understanding, tax advantages, retirement strategies,
Yeah.
um, long-term care. So these are all things you think of as smart protection whilst you are still alive, even before you get into the legacy aspect of things. So I just wanted to leave this with our viewers. And if you do need help with any of these things that I have touched on, make sure you reach out and we will be able to assist you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm thinking of two things as we wrap up. I'm thinking of the fact that sometimes we think, oh, I'm young, so I'll look into this next year, or I'll look into this in the next five. I'm just 35, so when I'm 40 or when I'm 45, then I start looking. The problem is that we can't tell what will happen tomorrow. So be wise. If you didn't know, it's different, right? When you have no knowledge of it, it's different. But as you've heard of it, you have to do something, take action, protect yourself and your family. I don't know how you can forgive yourself if something happens and you've not done anything and you had all this knowledge. And then the second thing I had in mind, which now I can't remember, God forgive me. But please wrap up and let's go. Oh God, I can't even remember the second thing I had in mind.
No, no worry, I'll
Maybe
forgive
I'll
you.
remember. But thank you all thriving friends for joining us. This is recorded, so if you're now hopping on, don't worry. You can go ahead and watch everything. So final words for the thriving generation as well.
A plan requires a starting point. And so let me address what you had said. Maybe you're young, you don't think I am old enough to have to worry. Well, wherever you are today, that's a good place to start with a plan. Remember, I said that posterity rewards kindly those that think generationally. In spite of the many possibilities of the future, it is only those who participate in shaping it that get the privilege of sitting at the table when the future is being allocated. Okay. So get in the business of thinking generationally. Add that to whatever your psyche is, however you see yourself today, should not stop you from preparing for tomorrow.
Mm,
Get the kinds of plans in place that help you move from today to the future that you choose or to the future that you deserve. Remember, life would give you the things you plan, work, fight, build, and take control of, not the things you wish for, not the
mm,
things you merely hope for,
mm,
sometimes not even the things that you engage in religious activity and say, I'm praying for a better tomorrow. If you don't do anything, tomorrow is not guaranteed. If you're a farmer, you probably understand this better than most of us. If you
mm,
don't sow those seeds today, set up those strategies today, start the accumulation today, start building that equity today, start clearing the clutter out of your life today. Tomorrow will come. The rains will come down, the
mm,
sun will shine,
mm,
everybody would say, Afi Shiapa. Everybody would say,
mm.
welcome, happy new year. And there will be some who will be smiling in that new year because indeed it is a happy new year. And there will
Yeah,
be some who will be wondering, how did I get here? You don't
yeah,
want to be the one wondering, how did I get here? So start
yeah,
planning. Put those seeds in the soil, cultivate the soil. It may take time. Remember, I said wealth is a journey that takes time. So
yeah,
start putting in the seeds, cultivate it, water it, learn more. If you don't know how to do something, reach out, get the right help that you need, understand better ways of doing the same things. And as you keep going, we will get to that place. Can I leave with a word that sounds like I'm a minister of the gospel? You
Page. Go,
come
go,
to
go.
your wealthy place. And let me add a hallelujah in case you.
Hallelujah.
But anyway, so that would be how I want to wrap this up. Take responsibility, start now, do
Yeah,
whatever you need to do. Especially remember those dialogues are critical. Start
yeah,
engaging in those critical dialogues, understanding what do we want tomorrow to look like for our kids? What do we want tomorrow to look like for our grandkids? Who is going to be in the position to help us when we are incapacitated?
yeah,
How do we want, literally have a constitution for yourself?
yeah.
Write it down, discuss it with the people that matter, and let's keep looking towards tomorrow with excitement because we are shaping it, not just waiting to see what will happen.
Thank you so much. This is beautiful. Pastor John, thank you.
I finally ended with Pastor John. Okay.
Thank you so much. So I remember the last point I wanted to talk about. It's okay to ask for help. When you are sick, you go to the doctor because you know the doctor is an expert in that field. When
Right.
you are going to buy a car, you won't go to the market where they sell tomatoes to ask the tomato seller about cars. You will make sure you go to the place where they deal with cars, the person who sell cars, or somebody who is knowledgeable about cars. Please do the same with your finances. Please do the same with your future. It's okay to ask for help. We don't know everything. We are experts in different fields. It's okay to pay for the services when needed, or just look online. Sometimes some of these resources are free, but learn to improve your lives. All right. So we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to joining you tomorrow too. We are still on Financial Literacy 101. I encourage you and I'll continue to encourage you to be well, thrive, but thrived holistically. Just don't focus on your work and forget about your family. Don't just focus on money and forget about your health. We are going to take care of everything concerning our lives. I look forward to seeing you next week as we talk more about our financial literacy. Take care and thank you so much once again for joining.